Kitty cat's taking up position. Chili. The remainder of Pepsi. The lights are lit. It's kind of late. My hair is up for a reason. I went to the second night of auditions. This time I thought I want to keep my mouth shut, which I tried really hard. And what I had done was the Italian that was written in the script, I typed out, and underneath each typed line, I typed in italics how to say it phonetically in English. And I left it on the table. So if the director wants it, fine. If he doesn't want it, he's going to know who wrote it. But anyway, my hair's up like this because I wore a wig on top of a big brown wig. The wig I used to wear as Anita Mandicus, the news anchor for Utopia News, when we did collaborations. I'm thinking of getting back and doing the characters. Spencer asked me if he wants me to start doing chair exercises, and I told him when I get my area cleaned up, and he goes, is your area cleaned up? When are you going to do the chair exercises? I said, the living room is, but the bedroom isn't. I still have paperwork to put away, and he goes, you let me know. I only read once for a part I had not read for before, and yesterday I just used my regular voice. Today I used kind of a Fran Drescher, not that bad, New York type accent. I played the part I read for today was Jackie, or actually Jake. It's an Aunt Jacqueline, but they call her Jake, and she says, you two go have fun, solos are fine, but duets are better. It's kind of like that. So the guy knows I can do some kind of an accent. But I sat there and I was quiet and nodded my head when I thought people were doing a really good job. So, I mean, I as a director, I'm sure he looks at the other people that are watching the guys doing their thing. I don't think I'm going to be cast. He said he'll let us know by Friday. And if we're not called, then we're not cast. And he said, if you are cast, don't put it on social media until after the group lists it officially. That's fine. That's the kind of secret I could keep. But it was nice. I was going to go to a meeting that was before that, but I didn't because Spencer had a really bad day. I went with Brian to pick up Spence, and Brian had a terrible headache, and he was just not in a good mood. He was just really upset. And the baby was woke up before he was done napping, and so there was a lot of tension in the car on the way to get Spencer. And we were parked waiting for Spencer to come out, and he came out, and it looked like he'd been crying. He's having a hard time lately at school, and I don't really know why. There's one or two kids that seem to be sandpaper against him, you know what I mean? Like, he goes to sit down like you're supposed to, and someone else wanted to sit there, and it just kind of upsets the apple cart. So I don't know exactly what's going on, and I'm sure they don't want me to butt my head in or anything, but I told my son, I said, if there's anything that I can do to help in any way, just let me know. If there's, for instance, of an old story of me not, having a hard time in school or whatever. I mean, just anything. If there's anything I can do. So, I was taking care of the baby when we got home. We were going to go to the store, but things were not good. So Brian took Spencer upstairs, and they had a long talk for a while, and I was with the little guy who was bouncing around and running around, and they have this little drawing thing. It's like magnetic. You draw with that little pencil thing on there, and then you can erase the picture. So I was telling him the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and as I was telling the story, I'd say, there's the porridge. Daddy Bear's bowl of oatmeal, Mama Bear's, and Baby Bear's, and then I'd take that picture off, and Goldilocks said it was too hot, so she, and then the next room, the beds, no, the chairs and the broken rocker chair, whatever. I drew the pictures of the chairs. When Goldilocks sat in the rocking chair, I took the little thing and the picture, and I went like this with it. She was rocking so hard it broke into a million pieces. And then I wiped that picture and put it, like the next picture with like lots of little pieces of chair and the girl sitting there on the floor going, "Ooh." So I did the Goldilocks whole story, and then by that time we read a couple books, and he tossed a book in the air, and if it landed on the back face up, and then or if it landed face down, it seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was experimenting and seeing if it would land face up or face down. It wasn't just a random, he was doing this. And then Spencer finally comes down with Daddy. Daddy was fixing supper. And I had both of the kids on the couch, one on each side. Spencer was still kind of sad, and I said, "Come here, give me a hug." And he goes, "Why do you want a hug?" I said, "Because I love you." "Well, I love you too, Grandma." I said, "It makes me feel better when I have a hug." So I hugged him. And I said, "You know what your brother and I were doing?" He goes, "What?" And I said, "We were telling a story and drawing pictures, and I brought that little board there." And so I showed him what I was doing and the pictures that I was drawing. We finished the story, and then I said, "I'm going to draw a picture of an animal." I'm trying to just like totally distract him. Like, you get into a mindset, and if something just pops that bubble, So I draw an alligator or crocodile. And he goes, "Is that a something or other?" "No." "Something?" "No." And then I got to the end of the crocodile. I go, "Oh, it's a crocodile." I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Let me have the thing." So he draws little circles near the butt. Little circles. And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's tooting." In other words, it's farting. So I drew different animals. I drew a dog or a cat or a rabbit. And each one he had to draw the tooting bubbles. And then he wanted to illustrate the Goldilocks story. So I let him do it. And doggone it, he's getting really good. For a 4-year-old, there are people in junior high that can't draw that good. He drew a bowl of steaming hot oatmeal with the little on the top, like cartoonists draw, And he was totally into it. And it was time for dinner. And I was going to go back home right away. But I didn't. He wanted me to sit next to him. And I said, "Okay, I'll do that if we have a nice supper, everybody behaves." So he started eating. Mommy came home. And Mommy sat down across from the little guy next to Daddy. So it was Mommy, Daddy, little guy, Spencer, and me down here. And he'd get up and wander around the table. I said, "Spencer, I thought we were eating supper." "I am." "So we eat supper sitting down." Brian actually didn't say anything. I said, "Spencer, we always eat our supper sitting down." So he sat down, and he pretty much finished what he wanted to eat. And the little guy did. He finished, and I wiped up the table because Mom and Dad were just had it. And then I said, "Grandma's got to go now." And both of them started wailing and crying. I said, "I will see you tomorrow." I said, "Do not cry. I want you to have a nice evening. Your brother didn't finish his nap, so he has to catch up on his dream. And you have to make all your dreams, make them good." And they're still crying. I said, "Well, I will see you tomorrow." And then I came over here. And they usually have something like strawberries and blueberries for snack. And I saw a partial list on the refrigerator. 3 things I remember: blueberries, strawberries, and bread. And there were 2 more things, but I don't know what they were. So after the auditions, I stopped at the store and I got some big organic blueberries. They're huge, big as my eye. And the little guy likes the big ones. And they had a small container of strawberries. It's at the end of the season, so there's just hardly any. So I got some halfway decent looking ones. And I got a loaf of bread. I think they get home fried wheat bread. I think that's the kind they get. Well, anyway, then I messaged them saying that on the way home I got strawberries, blueberries, and bread. And Ashley just a moment ago messaged me and said thank you. I said I'll bring them over in the morning. Tomorrow she has something she has to attend to. And I will watch the little guy for probably an hour. And he's slowly but surely trying to say a word. I have like a little golden bell. It's huge. I got it. They were selling it as a Christmas ornament, but it has a jingle inside and it goes ding, ding, ding. The cat likes to play with it. So he was looking at that and playing with it. And I said, that's a bell. He looks at it. Ball? Bell. I said, it's just like a ball. It's round. This is nice and shiny. And he looked up at my Christmas tree. It had little golden balls on it. And he kept looking and pointing up there. And I thought, what's he pointing? And it finally dawned on me. There's little round gold balls up there. So he knows. He's not stupid. He just, I don't know what's keeping him from talking. But he's doing okay. He can make himself understood if he has to. So I think he probably will when he has to. The grown-ups just have to stop guessing what he wants. And I'm sure Mom and Dad do that too. But I heard the little guy with Daddy this morning, and they were jabbering back and forth, jabbering and having a good time. So I think Brian and Ashley are doing a fantastic job of parenting. I'm very proud of them. Brian did not have the best home life with an abusive dad. And Ashley just had her mom. And her older sister, I think, was already moved out, pretty much. So they're trying their hardest to be a great nuclear family. And I think I am very proud of them. They should be very proud of themselves. They're doing the best they can, and Brian was all upset about this Spencer thing at school. And there's one crotchety-looking teacher. It reminds me of a principal in high school that was always out looking for trouble. If you ever got in any kind of kerfuffle or anything, he'd come looking for you, you know? I have a feeling this teacher's like that. And usually you don't even have to say anything. When there's tension in the air, kids can feel it. I don't really know what the story is. Basically, as if Spencer doesn't stop hitting, kicking, crying, screaming, objecting, not answering the teacher, blah, 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 that kind of, being obstinate and defiant. If he doesn't stop that, they're kicking him out of school. And the little guy, they're gonna be starting him in school. So neither one will be allowed if this persists. This week, I have an eye doctor appointment Thursday. Sunday is a potluck, and I'm going to go see a play right before that. And next week is my counselor appointment and Spencer's program. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I still have to do stuff around here. Hopefully I'll feel like it. How long have I talked? I don't know. These glasses are 2.75. I can read almost across the room. I'm only kidding. I can't, but they do help. Cat fur landed on my face. Yeah. Open mic night's tomorrow night, and I do have some type of stuff written down. We'll see if I can come up with some more. And then I'm going to be writing some alternate lyrics to Christmas songs, so when you're gathered around the table and people start, and you hear Christmas music on someone's radio or stereo or something, you'll be thinking of these alternate lyrics and saying, Shirley, gosh darn it. Upward and onward.